I'm back. We got a whole lot to go through here yet. So bear with me if you're listening. This is mainly, like I said, for myself and whoever else has interest. So I was talking about, I finally got to the point when I came back that I told this gentleman that I don't know what's going on, but it's going to take me some time to figure this out. Figure myself out and grab hold of a whole nother perspective and plan to go about life. I told him it was going to take about 2 years. It's not even 2 years yet. And of course I've been living in hotels on a credit card. And I'm going to explain how that ended up, this situation ended up, by sharing with you the rest of this, but I want to go beginning to end. So he tried to be understanding and basically said, go ahead, do what you need to do, work it out, get your life together. I took what I've learned while I was in Las Vegas by observing everything. And I felt maybe that was the reason why I was there, Because many people will hear me have said that I felt that the details were getting closer to where I felt that God was calling me to not only a rock and roll ministry aimed for children, but as well Las Vegas style. I used to talk a lot about that. What is Las Vegas style? I don't really know myself. I guess that might be one of the reasons why I was meant to go there. I really don't know what I meant by that, but I just felt very strongly about it. Kind of more of like a show kind of thing, I guess, to reach out to the children. And can I tell you that also along the lines, and I explained this, don't want to get too heavy into it, but as a child growing up, there was two things that I was always drawn to, of course, the exotic look that a lot of girls, whether they're in the adult entertainment industry or just girls in general, ladies that would dress on occasion. I've oppressed a lot of that because of society's standards of how we all should be living our lives. So, of course, throughout my childhood, I didn't get to do a lot of the things that a girl wouldn't have more opportunity to experience. And two others were, of course, dressing in a cheerleader's outfit and as well cat costume. Ever since I was a little kid, there was something about me that I always wanted to wear cat costumes. I'm kind of over that now through my process of everything, but I guess you can say I got it kind of out of my system. So I put together a costume, grabbed my guitar, and I said, this is going to be the start of my children's rock and roll ministry on the street, because I don't know what else to do, and I got to figure things out. Might as well figure it out while I'm playing my guitar, and hopefully I have the opportunity to make a little bit of money and get my life straightened out. No sooner did I step my foot, everybody knows that I played like downtown Dayton at the Oregon District. I played in Cincinnati by Fountain Square and Yellow Springs. But when I first started out, because I've had so many problems with the law at different areas of the United States and through different experiences that I had, I was really nervous about doing this because obviously playing guitar, playing my music, depending on where it is and how it's being used, can be disturbing to a lot of other people, as well as the law saying you can't do that here, you can't do that here. So I'm kind of terrified to do this, but I don't know what else to do right now, and I know music is my thing. So when I first started off at the Oregon District, I started playing more like under the bridge. I started walking around more with my guitar with me wherever I went, not in cat costume, but just wherever I was. And I started working on my video projects, trying to get out of my heart whatever was in it. And because I love all aspects of entertainment, my thing was put it all together and utilize it and use it to educate and entertain. I was very passionate about the experiences and things that I've been through as far as being a transsexual, as far as being an exotic or an adult entertainer. And my heart, because I was wrapped up in Christianity especially, made me motivated and driven to do everything in my power to be a voice through song, speech, and role play to reach out to people and educate them and raise awareness about these things in hopes of helping others. As simple as that. And when you don't know what else to do, but you're using your talents in every way possible, you start heading out. And it may be a little messy in the beginning. Take a couple years to work it out. And that's the process I had to go through. And let me tell you, looking back now, I can see very easily why it appeared to be so ugly to everybody else. But I was having the time of my life. For the first time in my life, I didn't care what anybody else thought. It bugged me about what the people closest to me were thinking and how they were treating me. But I just went out to do what I had to do. So I was really nervous about playing. I started playing off underneath the bridge and slowly working my way. And different people would say, why aren't you playing up here? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I started to do so. Then I started to realize maybe I ought to put a little costume on. I love to wear costumes. Started entertaining in my cat costume and busking, and I'd be going to Cincinnati and stuff. Can I tell you, it wasn't long after I stood on the soil, especially like when I first stepped out in Cincinnati, that I realized that I was being bombarded by a group or several different groups of people. This affected me greatly because I realized that when I also came back that I talked out loud a lot. I talked to myself out loud. We're taught to pray, that it's okay, that we pray to God, and it's okay to verbalize, to speak, to hold a regular conversation with Him. But we're taught that we're crazy if we talk to ourselves. Well, now I'm at the point where I realize that this whole God thing was a big illusion of weirdness that I don't want to keep talking about. But I've never had so much anger in my whole entire life. I've never had a letdown like that. Okay, and I'm getting ready here I gotta flip this over again. Hold on a minute. I am back a second time. I'm gonna try to move along a lot faster, leave some of this stuff out. It might be unnecessary, but this may be very boring to you, but I realize that it's been very therapeutic for me, so I'm going to continue on. When I got back from Las Vegas and I started going out and doing street performances, it was pretty much the same day that I started wearing my cat costume and stuff, that I stepped out on Cincinnati streets and the other places I was playing, and I realized I was being bombarded either by a group of people or a couple of different groups of people. And why I say that is because I started talking to myself out loud a lot. Okay, the people who lived with me, it was very annoying. There would be times that I would be out in the garage and I would be in a total rage, just screaming and carrying on, because to be honest with you, I don't really know why, but I just was so angry at everything that happened up to that point, and realizing more so of how I wasted all those years in something that was not true, and then how I ended up in Las Vegas. It was like somebody played a dirty trick on me. I'm trying to figure things out. Two things that are very important to you, why I felt this way, is number one, I used to talk out loud, and I still do. I still talk. There's nobody... We should be able to have a conversation with ourselves and be out loud with it and be okay, but a lot of society is kind of conditioned as to that's a crazy person if they're talking out loud to their self. Whatever the case may be, I found that to be extremely therapeutic as well. It's emptying everything out, getting it out of my heart. Two things that happened to me when I was in Las Vegas so quickly is that day that I was on the bridge and I was about ready to pass out, and that guy was asking me if I believe in Jesus and stuff, he also opened up a container. Now, why did he have a container with him? I gotta be, I don't know. Your mind can think all kinds of bizarre things, but he had a container and he had me sniff it. Inhale it in the process of me feeling like I was dying right there on the bridge. Now, was that something that cleared my sinuses? Is it some kind of technology or scientific studies that, who knows what it could have been that I actually inhaled? Okay, there's a lot of me that believes that whatever it is that I inhaled that day also had the effect of me being explosive and angry, because I'm a lot calmer now. Of course, I went through a year and a half of being angry and going through all this stuff, but for whatever reason, I had to, he brought that to me, and I did inhale it. But it wasn't like a liquid, it wasn't something. It was something, whether it didn't smell like anything specific, but whatever it was in his hand that he had me inhale, I inhaled that day. Why was he already there for me? Was this the same guy that warned me not to smoke that? Was this the same guy who's asking me if I believe in Jesus? Whatever. All of a sudden now he has a bottle as well. Already there's something fishy going on here. I mean, let's just say it. There's something really weird that all this kind of ended up happening. Now I'm being bombarded. And something else that happened as well is, one of the last days that I was there, I was sitting on a bridge early. I would start about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I won't say specifically what lookalikes they were, but there were 2 lookalikes, and maybe someday in another video, maybe I'll have the opportunity to share that with you. But 2 guys who were dressed up in costume as lookalikes of celebrities ended up coming and sitting down beside me on the bridge, and basically the one was doing a lot more of the talking and stuff, and I was very attracted to him. I understand this. I was attracted to both of them. I thought this was the greatest thing. It was almost like real life kind of thing. And basically he had a conversation with me that if I don't change my pattern, other opportunities can't come my way kind of thing. One of the keys to life is trying to break your pattern and stay moving. So after they had talked to me for a while and we sang a couple songs on the bridge, they encouraged me to go down to Fremont, which was my first time I ever went to Fremont. And along the way, the one guy was playing the guitar the whole way on the bus ride and everything like that, all the way through. So understand, the one who's talking to me about the way I should be going about life, he was showing me. I mean, basically, he's getting pictures and everything. He's making $5 here, $5 there, whatever people are asked. Totally impressed, because he really looked like this celebrity, a rock and roll celebrity. So in that journey, when we go over to Fremont, this other character still has my guitar and he's playing it and stuff. Eventually, me and the one that was doing all the talking, we ended up getting private, and I told him I was a transsexual and stuff. And he was interested in me, and basically asked me if I had a hotel room and if I would be interested in, going back to the hotel room with him. And of course, I couldn't pass that up. So I did. But I wanted to get my guitar because I've also been warned about, from other people, you don't want to leave your belongings with any, you just really can't trust people, you got to be careful. And he assured me that everything was going to be okay. So we went back to the hotel room, we did our thing while we were there. He kept reminding me that he was not who he appeared to look like, and he showed me his driver's license or whatever, which I reflect back and it could have been this person. Understand this, it could have been this person and he had a fake ID. It could have been a lot of different things that are going on. Understand, my head is spinning here. But eventually, after the hotel, we went back, and the other gentleman did not have my guitar with him. It was actually over at an apartment. So obviously we went over to the apartment and got it. Instantly, just like I've mentioned before about being in a hospital and you know that something happened to you but you don't know what it was, but you feel like you were violated. I felt like my guitar was violated, but I didn't know how. One of the things that was asked to me also is I used to use my black guitar when I first started playing on the bridge, but one day I met a guy at the hotel parking lot one night after I got off, my work, busking and stuff. He asked me if I could use another guitar, and he mentioned about being careful about having something as nice as that one out on the streets, that it could get stolen, could get chipped up from being on the street and all kinds of things, that maybe I ought to have a street guitar. So I didn't realize it then, but evidently he was doing me a favor. And he actually sold me, it was a really beat up guitar, my brown one that I used, and it had stickers all over it. It was all scratched up and stuff. But I fell in love with it instantly, and he sold it for me for an extremely reasonable price. I couldn't pass up. Basically, it was my day's wages, which weren't much. Okay, understand it wasn't much at all. Maybe someday I'll share how much I paid for that guitar or what have you, but that's one of my babies. And, you know, that day I didn't know if he had taken it or whatever the deal was. He was actually a stagehand, and he was leaving Las Vegas, and he only had that guitar for the few months that he was there as well, and he's just like, he's leaving, he doesn't really have the room for it anyway. So that was his story. And I took it into town. Nobody said anything or whatever, so I mean, I didn't know what to do as far as do I run cereals or whatever, you know. At this point I don't know who I can trust and who I can't. It's not the same life that I grew up with, where when you went, in most cases you bought something, it was legit. So anyway, I understand I had another guitar, that brown guitar. Well, when I was out on the bridge, that was also asked by somebody. I don't know if it was one of these two celebrity lookalikes or who it was, but it was asked, didn't I have another guitar, where is it? And it was basically like, I just asked you. So they're kind of questioning, where's this guitar at? Well, now, leading back up to where I finally got my guitar back and I felt like it was violated, I got to be honest, I felt like there was some kind of bug put in it, that people can hear me vocally. And probably really small, that I might not be able to find it with my hands. So obviously I went back to the hotel room and I'm feeling it all around. I can't find anything. And these are the same guitars that I had my friend, my roommate, that you will find out later on that lived with me. She actually invested in a device that she could check it, and the only place that it went off was in my forehead. Isn't that something? So are one of my guitars bugged? Is there some kind of chip in my head? I don't know. Listen, this sounds crazy, but you don't know. But you got to hear me out with the rest of the story. Think I'm crazy if you want to. But I've realized when I came back here to Ohio that it seemed that when I was talking out loud, that within a brief period of time, somebody would end up coming back and the conversation would be based off of that. You know, and I didn't really take time at this moment to write down various things that I would be talking about with myself, but I talked about all kinds of things, and it seemed that I was becoming more and more in tune with the fact that this wasn't a spiritual thing. This was somebody's actually, a group of people, a lot of people are either watching me, and you can laugh if you want to, whether it's via satellite, because they have the technology. Believe it or not, they can do this. Or did they microphone my guitars? Did they put a chip? I started thinking, do they have a microphone hidden because I stand at the same spots usually? I didn't know what to think, but I do know that the whole entire time that I was busking up until the time that I left this last time, back in October, I was definitely being monitored. By who and for what? I don't really have the details for that. I don't know why people would want to do that. They have all kinds of sick reasons and they have logical reasons. Part of me was thinking that they're actually trying to help me get my head straight and try to help me in my walk of life, and you know, and it really felt strongly like they were leading me back into what I left, which was being a solo acoustic as a business. Okay. That, you know, to me, ministry and everything else like that was really felt upon differently. I wanted to use my talents and my gifts for something fun and enjoyable. All that was fun and enjoyable for a season. I'm 41 now. You know, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be stuck myself. I already know what I can do and what I did do, and I know because I'm a transsexual that it's just going to be 75 times harder for me because of that. And I will say that, and then people can say, oh, you're just making excuses. Go Go put on a dress if you're a guy and go try to live your life and see how easy it is. You know, and I'm really a transsexual lady, which it should be a little bit easier for me, but I'll tell you what, it's not. There is no grace for that. Not for the conscience of all mankind as a whole. It's not an easy thing to go about in your life. Because if it was, I'd have a job, and, you know, I would probably be doing music as a part-time, doing it as a part-time business, hopefully finding other outlets and stuff to do it, to share my talents with other people. But as far as solely doing a solo acoustic business, I can actually say no. That season of my life is kind of over. I already know that, you know, the society's conditioned. They want to hear songs they're familiar with through the radio and media and stuff. They don't want to hear Tracilyn songs. It doesn't matter how great they are, you know. So I don't want to keep on battling that for the rest of my life, and the fact that I'm transgendered and trying to prove myself over and over and over again to people. I don't want to go down that road of insanity. I wanted to do something fun, something exciting. So that's what I'm setting out to do. During this process, I started finding myself and what I enjoy. I started figuring things out, the way the real world operates. And again, this is where I started to learn, like people like Joyce Myers and stuff. He'll tell you, she'll slam in your face, if you need grace, then give grace. You need forgiveness, then give forgiveness. And then there's always a catch later on down the road. If you need money, then maybe you need to start giving money. Meaning to her ministry or to wherever. And can I tell you, don't ever buy into that. That is a huge mistake. Don't ever do that. You can say, well, why not, Tracilyn? When I give money, money comes back to me. I'm really happy for you, but in my situation, that's not true. I give money away, I give money away. I don't ever see it, I gotta go work for it now. That's how the world operates. And what I realized when I was standing there giving my talents, all I had was myself, a smile, playing my guitar, entertaining people. I would get that sometimes. Sometimes people would stop over and sing to me and make me laugh and stuff, sing with me or what have you. But can I tell you, more so than not, yes, there was money that was given to me in exchange. There was food, there was drink, there was all kinds of things. And if all I had to give was a song, I'd get smiles, I would get hugs, kisses on the cheek by different individuals. Don't buy into what these preachers are talking about, because most of it, you will find out if you spend time on the street, is a bunch of BS. And I have a whole lot of other things I could discuss with that. I don't want to get too crazy and too wild on that, because I already did another video on it. Maybe someday I'll be able to jot down more things if I'm still around to share with things that I started waking up to. That started happening to me. I was actually in Cincinnati when I started realizing that. It's like, you got to be kidding me. But that's what these big ministries are out there doing, and they're doing it for a reason. There's a ministry of raping people for everything they have. And whatever they do with it, they do with it. But sadly but true, I started realizing that whether it was through the producer I met who was down in Nashville, who invited me to his home in New York, or if it was a promoter of supposed celebrity son that I ended up meeting while I was here in Ohio, whether it was through their sources or if it was through the source of the person that I lived with. Because understand, I talked about this before, I felt that my life, what was happening privately in my life, under my roof, in my daily life, that I was not releasing to anybody up until now, especially, was somehow being utilized by these ministries, that they were taking my life and invading my privacy because information was coming to them, and then they were turning around, and whether they were inspired to write books, whether they were inspired to write quotes on their Facebook or Twitters or whatever, or have sermons, I felt this way. I'm not saying that it's all true, but I felt like somehow, some way, they're getting insight of what it is that I am doing in my daily life. Are they doing it to try to aim it at me, to try to help, as well as they know they're going to help a whole lot of people because of that? Or what have you? I don't know, but I'm just saying, If I'm mentally crazy, I'm mentally crazy. But these are exactly the things that were going on that I felt very much so were happening to me. And then I started wondering, or I started realizing that people in the industry, they're having access as well to different various ideas and information that I've had. And I got to be honest, I thought about this. I got to be the first to say I have some very fine examples that I would love to start listing, because it's a lot. But at this point, anyway, I don't really want to center anybody out. You know, for a lot of different reasons. I still have a heart and I still care. And these same guys and women that I idolized in the music industry, especially, but even in comedy. Let me just say that I'm gonna go down and tell you that I've seen someone who somehow, some way, ended up using. I'm gonna say my ragtop Cadillac was a really big thing for me for a while, and that's when I met this celebrity's son here in Ohio, and I'd given him a promotional CD. Obviously, this was after it was recorded up in New York, and it wasn't too long afterwards that I started realizing that somebody who I idolized throughout my life and inspired me to want to develop my abilities as a guitar player, singer, songwriter, especially an entertainer. It's now their stage prop. Very, very close in resemblance. Is that a coincidence, you think? It could be. It could be a coincidence. I don't think so. And I'll tell you why, because both these guys knew, especially the first one knew that the one song, just like I said and I said Garth Brooks, you know, I heard, and this has nothing to do with it, by the way, but I'm just saying that when I was in Las Vegas, I have a tendency sometimes, like I hear these voices in my head. In that case, here in Miss Las Vegas, in my head. All right, there's something different. I'm kind of, I've mentioned a Nashville songwriter actually called me a genius. That's because you're a genius. You hear all this stuff in your head. Now, my goal is, of course, to get it out of my head. Well, when I give birth to songs, there has been a lot of times that I would hear people's voices. And I've wrote down on my other YouTube page that, you know, there's been times that I heard like somebody from Skid Row, you know, Sebastian Bach singing a song. Why? I don't know why. But it happens. I've always wondered that too. Why do different voices come into my head and then these songs almost, it's like they instantly come out of me? Well, this was one of the songs that I've written when I was up in New York. And I remember specifically telling that producer, sitting beside him, and actually telling him who it was that I heard. Well, later on, this other guy that I met here in Ohio, I actually, by that time, I had like a little disc. And I'm wavering back and forth because I know from my own experience, I wasn't expecting to do it as a ministry, or I mean as a business. But I'm thinking to myself, creative different ways and ideas that all this could be. Because I don't hear Almighty God telling me each step to do. I'm kind of trying to use my own imagination, dream a little bit, and use my imagination to try to piece this together. And I was really big into the 50s and stuff like that. You know, I mentioned all this stuff before, how that came about. But I made this CD label, and basically I put myself with my hair bowed up like a 50s style in this ragtop Cadillac. Images, I just made this. Now, I did post some pictures online. And I also used this temporarily on a YouTube video to support the song Ragtop Cadillac. But I also handed somebody one of those CDs. Now, how all this got utilized and moved around, I don't know. But I got to tell you, it's quite disappointing to go on a YouTube video or on a Facebook page, and all of a sudden you see what it is that you were inspired from your heart and from your own mind. Now somebody's big stage prop, you know, website and everything like that. Not to mention that the more specifically this one group of people that I admired so much as a kid growing up, but you started realizing that their whole album art was kind of had a whole lot of everything that you've been sharing on your YouTube page. You know, like when I wrote that song for Amanda Todd and I had this wrist covered up because that's what she did. So I kind of fed off her, right? You know, the inspiration. I mean, I remember the day I seen her page and I fell into a puddle of tears and instantly a song came out. Okay? So then I did my thing and I used the band. So was I right or wrong or indifferent? And that's what I tried to make out of this. But I realized that even the different album art that they would have, or pictured art, had a lot of the different similarities of the things I've been working on. So should I really be upset about that? Would you be upset about that? If one of the icons that you were admiring their art or their work, meaning their abilities, their talents, all your life, that you were inspired to get out of bed and you mistakenly wanted to be like them throughout your life, would you be insulted by that, or would you be like, wow, you know, that's just really cool that they would even be inspired to do that? I have mixed feelings with it, and that's why I don't want to say any names, because there's a big part of me that says, you know, maybe they heard my life story and they heard that, you know, all the things that I've been through, and maybe like I was with Amanda Todd, maybe they were inspired to say, you know what, there's not a whole lot that we care to do outside of it, but this is the best way we can help, you know, and that's why they did. So I felt there was different groups that actually somehow got a hold of my life story information, whether it's through me, but at this time I'm thinking through the other people. So I'm kind of looking like this is dirty, you know, kind of thing, pranks being pulled on me and people were stealing my ideas and things like that. But it began to manifest even more because it wasn't just with one group. What I started realizing is a lot of the things that I've talked about to myself started coming out through other sources. And it was by the same people of groups that I was saying inspired me and stuff. I would have long conversations with myself talking about different people who inspired me. And now I see these same people on television doing things that they would never normally do. You can look at their whole history. They never did it up until Tracilyn started talking. So I'm thinking, is the house bugged? That's where this girl and everything started happening. I'm like, is this house bugged? Am I bugged? Is the guitars bugged? What is going on? Are we being watched via satellite? You start to feel that way. Okay, is it true or is it not true? Am I experiencing something really spiritual? I doubt it. Is it a coincidence? I doubt it. Only because I was there and I went through all the things that I did. And I would have to say that more so than not, people were invading my privacy, and any information they were getting from me, they were selfishly and greedily using it for their self-gain. Because they're not, you know, my reasoning to that is simply they don't really have time to live their lives, to live a hard life outside of the hard life that they live. So, you know, pretty much how much can you say about traveling all over the place and singing and doing stuff like that? I mean, you can only write so many songs. They're looking for inspiration everywhere they go, and they're feeding off other people. That's okay until you find out they're invading your privacy, or they find somebody who is on their knees in a gutter, and they're taking all their ideas and letting them lay, and they're thinking this is a great opportunity. There are people, and what I'm realizing a lot more so than not, of people that know that there are people who are absolutely geniuses, but they're so stuck far down in the ground for whatever reason. In my situation, it's a whole lot of different things. But they're so far down that they know the world is never going to even accept anything that comes out of their mouth, let alone with what they're doing, no matter how great it is. So here we go. We're just feed off of them. So I started doing studies, and even, what was it exactly that I typed into the internet to look it up? Because I started feeling like I was a psychopath in a way. You know, not that I want to hurt anybody specifically like that, but just all the other things. Like, you know, there's people that have been locked up in mental institutions and everything that have went into the mental facilities claiming that there was celebrities who claim they claim that a celebrity actually told them that someday they're going to get married or whatever they're going to do. They started feeling that other people were using their ideas and things like that. Well, hello, I'm the same way. Exactly the same way. But I know for a fact I have compassion for all these people who've been locked up and put in mental institutions. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them were actually experiencing what I'm experiencing, which is an invasion of privacy. Technology. They get bugs. They can watch you via satellite. Believe it or not, they can, and they can go right. They can see you, and you'll see it more on television now. You'll see it more happening in movies. Don't ever be mistaken that if they have technology to do that, that they don't have technology far more advanced than that. And why would they do it? What's their reasoning? Money. They can make money off of it. And it's not like chump change like you and I can make. This is very serious cash. They're raping the entire planet, people for their money, whatever works, whatever sells. You know, one song, you'd be surprised what that one song can do, especially if the right person's singing it. Well, if that one person's writing a song and singing it, but they don't have the inspiration because they're living their life, they don't want to keep writing about the same things, they're looking for new inspiration, they're going to be feeding off other people. Well, think about if the elite and the most powerful people, the wealthiest people in the world, have access to privately watching and listening in on other people's lives. Well, they'll be inspired like there's no tomorrow, depending on who it is. And I know for a fact that I'm extremely inspirational because of all the life all the trials and things that I've been through in my life, the challenges that I had to face. So basically, I feel like I was hit pretty hard, like I was a lamb that was laying down just about dead, and everybody else is feeding off of me. And in the end, I got to say that I can look at that two ways. I can look at that as, wow, I really inspired. I was the seed of a change that occurred throughout the universe because music and entertainment is amazing. And believe it or not, it controls our thinking. Okay? So I can look at it like that and be grateful. And in the same token, you can look at it and say, you know what? You've been totally taken advantage of and mistreated at its lowest form. You know, not even a private donation, nothing given back to me. It was all taken from me. They got me when I was down, they ate off of me, and they'll move on to their next victim, whoever that is. Could it be or could it not be? Am I just making this up to get attention? I don't know. I'm telling you from my real life experience. So that has me on fire because so much that there's even a book that was written, a children's book. And I'm not going to say who it was that wrote it and made this, but I will tell you that the book cover has an ocean wave on it. And that ocean's wave is named Roland, like my amp. The storyline is pretty much based on very similar to what I have been going through. I've seen other things, and I started talking about, I'm a big fan of the 50s. I love big band music from the 20s and stuff like that. I love all music. Chances are you're going to meet very few people in this world that are as passionate about, really when I let loose, about all forms of music as I am. I'm crazy about music. Music is me and I am music. I just love it so much. And as I'm finding myself and being confused because I like it all, am I going to be country? Am I going to be rock and roll? Am I going to be Christian contemporary? Thank goodness, no. Am I going to be doing a lot of these other things? What is it that I'm going to do? And as I started trying to, with the resources that I have, to invent my sound, it started coming clearer to me what would be from my heart, what would be the most enjoyable. And we'll get into that a little bit later here when I got into the studio, but I started realizing that all that's coming out. And as a business person, you realize that what you look like now is the copycat. People took your ideas, even down to the Cadillac. Cadillac was my inspiration. Many people have used Cadillac. They use pink Cadillac, they use red Cadillacs, they use all this different stuff. You don't hear it, and all of a sudden, everybody's off trying to find a new idea and reinvent themselves and come up with a new image and a new tour and something exciting. And all of a sudden, you just start to realize that a lot of your stuff that you're thinking about, you're dreaming about, you're trying to get together while you're fighting everybody else around you to just breathe and be yourself, and you're using very limited resources. I mean, these guys can turn anything around like that. They can have a whole album done and everything. They have everything. Okay? So any idea that you end up saying is one thing. If you say it on camera, you post it online, it's different if you say it in conversation, which people have been pulling out of me continuously when I was on the streets of different things, and I give them little tidbits here and there. I understand, in the end, no matter what sound is produced or what I produce in my art, still is going to be separate and set apart, but it's still going to go, it isn't going to go without copycat of something that is already here right in the now, not what happened years ago. I'm talking about in the now. It kind of makes it, if what I've learned is a lot of these artists are copying off of each other. They want to get ahead of whatever everybody else is doing it. I would say from a Christian standpoint of view that that's absolutely the wrong way, and from a real life experience that's the wrong way. You should be going from your heart and putting it out there and being true with that. But a lot of people, in a sense, after years and years of doing things, they get stuck in a rut too, and they can't think of fresh new ideas. So they're looking around and they're taking inspiration off of everybody, And it's one thing that they do it, because even I do it. Every artist does it. We all do. But the thing is it's when are you invading their privacy? It's totally different. And I feel very strongly that my privacy has been invaded. And there's nothing I can do about it. How do you prove it? You can't, and they know that. Because speaking up like this just makes you look like a crazy person to society. To everybody. At some point when I was standing in, let me give you an example here. At some point, when I was standing in Cincinnati, in the morning hours, there was doves walking in the street. I literally saw one get hit. In fact, I started to kind of scream for it, get away, get away, get away, and I tried to slow the driver down. Unfortunately, they didn't see me. And they were, just driving. It's not like they did it on purpose. And the dove got hit. And I've never seen anything like that. But something in my heart said spiritually that this is a rare occasion. This is like, it just does not happen. It has to signify something. It was a pure white dove. And I'm out there, and I don't know what to do, because I'm kind of like standing there, and I ended up telling one of the guys that was there working in the city about it. And of course, he attended to it, but I'm thinking to myself, while I am standing there, I don't know what to do about this. And it was a weird feeling. I don't know if you ever felt like that. You see something like that happen, and if your first instinct is try to get off the street, you don't want to do it with your hands, and and I got all my stuff out there, and I'm thinking, what should I do about this? Shortly after that, a gentleman walked up to me who I had several conversations with. And he had mentioned about being born again. He said, well, you were just born again. And where did he come out of the sky? I mean, this is a guy that I've talked to several times. A very nice guy, by the way. Understand, I don't have no problems with the guys when they were talking to me. Very sweet. Some of them extremely handsome. And they seem very wise. Very calm. They always treated me with respect. So I'm kind of thinking these guys are really there to assist and try to aid me, to help me, to heal me and stuff, to guide me a little bit. But not only on that occasion, that he, but why all of a sudden did he just come out of nowhere and then tell me about that? I was born again. Maybe so. I don't know. I don't know. Figure it out. You figure it out. Tell me. Leave a comment down below. I can imagine this is going to be quite interesting. But the same guy also mentioned, because I was talking about different things, about some other guy who evidently likes me, but he had been hurt pretty badly before. And evidently he has an interest in me. But before he would get involved, he wants to make sure, that whatever it is that he has needs, and for the right reasons, that the two parties would be getting together. I don't know about you, but I know back in the day when I used to go out and the roles were reversed and I was interested in somebody, I actually walked up to them. And I took them places and I got to know them, or I'd invite them to a show, or, very seldom did I invite them out to eat. Usually I would take them somewhere, invite them somewhere. Because I wanted to share time with them and get to know them. The only way you're really going to know is if you're around them. But nowadays you don't necessarily have to be with them if you're in the right position and you have the right contacts, do you? No, you don't. I mean, just look around. There's cameras everywhere. What I started realizing from working, at Walmart and stuff, is that obviously you're on camera all the time, but you are no matter where you are. And we think sometimes that it just stops on that telephone pole or that light pole there, but it doesn't. I mean, let's just go on Google. Go into Google and type in somebody's address and zoom in. Nowadays, you can see actual physical people. You can see their cars. I mean, they distort the license plate in the faces and stuff. But it's all right there. And you think that's where it stops? I'm here to tell you, no, it doesn't stop there. And it's been this way for a lot longer than we can ever imagine. So all of our money, all of our resources, all of our labor, because let's just face it, many people would agree with this, we have been nothing but used for slavery. But it was an illusion of, that's not necessary slavery, not this way. I mean, look, you have a home to go home to after you get off work. You have things. Well, I know a lot of people won't agree with that, or they will agree with that we have been tricked into slavery for many generations. And because there's something inside my heart ever since childbirth that I have this need to be myself and not be a slave, it makes life extremely challenging. Go onto Google, look at it, use your imagination a little bit. All of our tax money and finances and things that we've been our labor that we've been putting into, don't be surprised at what all that's been used for whatever purposes. And I've often said many times that what they're doing up in outer space, we have no idea. What they're doing out in Nevada or down in Mexico or wherever, we have no idea. Meanwhile, we're up here living our little fantasy world of an illusion that is created, and we're all beating everybody up, each other up. Meanwhile, we have been slammed down into slavery, and now guess what? As many people would say, the setup is here. And many people are now becoming homeless, jobless, etc., etc., and we're fighting over whether or not gay people should be able to get married, or whether or not a transsexual should even be accepted. We're fighting over ridiculous reasons. And I'm not just stopping there. We fight over ridiculous reasons, and meanwhile, we shouldn't be fighting each other. We should be turning the tables around. And the people who have made our lives this miserable, we should be fighting them. We don't need them. They need us. Okay, just remember that. Always remember that. Just like those people who are out there that have had their long duration of success. There's a reason why everybody is where they are. And it's not just because of hard work. All right? And we would all be surprised. But let me just say that don't be surprised if one of your favorite celebrities or politician or anybody else that you just think high and mighty of isn't going down in their tour bus or in their hotel room or in their, $75 million mansion watching you on their iPhone. Don't be surprised if they do not have access as a family environment to do some of the things that we would just be absurd. It'd be absurd to us. I had a lot of opportunities that were presented to me that, looking back now, I can say some of them were pretty amazing during this time frame of coming back from Las Vegas up to now. I've never been so mad in all my life, and the more I started realizing that people are taking my ideas and they're listening in on me. Somehow they're listening in on me. They're getting reports of my life. I'm getting madder and madder and madder. And now I'm battling because in the process of me figuring things out, I'm going to be honest, the family support in the house that I was living in, there was a turnover. I calculated this. There was over 15 people that lived there from the time I got back in July of 2012 up until October when I left of 2013. I was asked to leave. I learned a lot because of that turnover. But in this process, I'm dealing with nothing but being humiliated all the time and gossiped about, talked very negatively about in that household. And I was always looking like a game player, and all I'm doing is playtime. I'm not working. But I will tell you that during this time, I've never worked so hard in all my life. Never. And the music business that I was in, I didn't have to work this hard. I'm killing myself. I'm doing everything by myself. Now, thank goodness we have the technology and everything like that. And the way it's coming out, I'm not really happy with either a lot of ways because it's being rushed, because I'm being pressured, because constantly I'm being told that if I don't wise up, or if I don't do this, or if I don't do that, I'm going to be asked to leave. Then you move, then you move, then you move. Imagine living your life always hearing that threat. You got to move, you got to move. Well, when I had a lease with a landlord, I didn't have to worry about that. They got their money. They loved me. I had great relationships with my landlords. They loved me, but I gave them what they needed was the money for the thing and for the apartments. And let me tell you, when you're living at the dependency of other people, if you're not living in the idea of how you should be living your life, in this situation, the owner of the house was totally against any kind of state-funded assistance. Thank God, Ohio. Thank God the states of United, they call it anyway. You'll find out later on I don't feel that way. Thank goodness there is a system there to help people like me who have fallen flat on their face and can't get back up. Because when you're living in a situation being a dependent on people, if you're not living into their idea of what you should be doing all day long with your life, and even down to how you dress, how you look, basically how you talk to others, what you're doing for an occupation, what you're doing on your private life, I can go on and on and on and on. If you're not living into their idea of who you should be, or a person should be, leave. That's the answer. Leave. There's nothing wrong with me because I'm the one with money and I'm the one who has the house that you're living in. Leave. But I'm here to say no, there's everything wrong. There's everything wrong. Sometimes people have everything materialistic, but they have nothing on the inside. Their heart is cold and frozen. And there is no compassion, no sympathy for what anybody else is going through. And psychologically, they do not understand that everybody, believe it or not, is created and designed to be who they are. Therefore, they might not be living or walking in your idea of who they should be. The things I'm passionate about in life, let me just say that most people I've crossed paths with are not. I'm into eating healthy. I'm into physical fitness. And music is my greatest passion. And I love days of long walks in the sun, laying and relaxing up at the lake. Okay, and to everybody else, that's nothing but clowning around and you're wasting time and you're being lazy. Lazy. Forget about enjoying any part of your life until you can grab hold of it. And by the way, go get a job, take any job, whatever job you can get. Forget about being you. I don't want to get too hard on that right now, but can I say that this is the same place that, because there was such a turnover, I am now being targeted as the lowlife in that household? And every time somebody complains about something, whether it's me talking to myself, even if I went out to the garage or whatever, if it's me playing my music or whatever, basically I was confined to stay in your room and be quiet. Yes, I have a childlike mentality, but yes, I was being treated very much like a child in that house. And I had no say over anything in that house at all. And the funny thing is if you really get down to it, if somebody would be outside of it, they would see that I was the rational and logical one. At least 90% of the time. I mess up, I'm human. I think logically. I'm aware. I studied psychology, by the way, and all kinds of things. And let me tell you something that I've learned more so than not, that the people that were moving in there were the sloppy lifestyles, not me. I was the one who was making the efforts and challenging myself to move forward and live a good life, to cleanse myself of the things, like even when it comes down to unhealthy eating. You'd be surprised, do you ever see rabbits and dogs, the kind of food they eat and the pellets and stuff? I mean, humans today don't really know what real food's like. Even back in the 70s, food was a lot different. I'm 41 years old. Over my lifespan, food has changed dramatically. There's all kinds of chemicals and unhealthy things purposely put into our food. And some of it not so on purpose, but it has its effect on us. And what does it do? It does all kinds of weird things to our bodies. Basically kills us, slowly. So I'm all about eating healthy and eating what I want to. I do eat meat sometimes, but let me tell you something. One thing that I've always wanted to get squared away on my finances was to the point that I could eat the way I used to eat, the way I want to eat, which is organic. And I tell people I'm a wannabe vegetarian. I'd like to be vegan all the way, but obviously you realize it when you have nothing and you're living in poverty that you can't always eat that kind of food. Very rarely, actually, especially if you're traveling all over the place and you have no money. It's very challenging, which I'll talk about that. So even when I'd run on the treadmill, I went through all this stuff, I was being made fun of over everything. My art isn't turning out exactly the way I desired it to, but I see all the potential. I see the potential. There is no mistake. I was not made mistakenly. I am who I am. I have a very playful spirit, and I put myself out there. It took a lot of courage to do it too. And I got to say, now my body and everything's being kind of let go. I'm an entertainer. This is what I do. But I'm 41, and I've been wanting to do things since I was pretty much a toddler. And no, I never had the opportunity, like for instance, I never had the opportunity to do a professional photo shoot. Let me tell you, I met some of the most outstanding photographers that I'm very critical over things that you may never see their work or what have you. But I mean, their work was so outstanding and they were in the profession. And let me tell you something, that was my dream, was to have a photo shoot like that. Privately, for myself, so I can use it for other things. But, I never had to mention a name or anything like that. But let me tell you something, as soon as they find out that I'm a transsexual, they want to do it. Oh, they want to do it. Up until they find out I'm a transsexual. Then all of a sudden, the door closes immediately. I've had that happen over and over and over and over again. I fall so far down, and I see the potential in myself, and I see the outlets of it. I mean, there's transsexual adult magazines all over the place. There has to be some kind of market for myself. I am not smart enough to figure it out overnight, but I work towards it. And let me tell you something, I've always wanted to do all kinds of crazy stuff, what people would consider crazy, but I wanted to do it. But the biggest thing was I always wanted to model, and I always wanted to do my music, and I wanted to get out there as a transsexual lady and educate people and and help people. I was under an illusion of a lot of BS. As far as to the modeling and stuff, that was always inward. That's things that I really, really wanted to do. There was no God telling me to do it. That's been in my heart. And I figured it was time for me to get into my heart and be honest with myself. So all the videos that you see on my other YouTube page, despite how they turn out, understand, I have like a $50 cam. Very generic. The computer that I have... Oh, it's amazing that it even holds up for a year. I'm always constantly replacing hard drives and stuff. Very affordable to do that, but I can't afford to buy the resources that I need. And what I've learned in this process is, more so than not, people who have these resources are selfish. Hey, they had to go through what they went through, and they were smart enough to keep their stuff and not listen to a God and give it away or sell it and move on in their calling in life. Okay, they were smart. All right? And they had to go through what they had to go through. Well, I used to have resources too. And when I started doing this project, I started realizing everything that I had. I could have done things a lot faster. It would have all turned out a lot nicer. And I wouldn't have had near as many problems in the process of doing the art as I did through this. I'm using Tinker Toys. There's children running around with better technology than I have. Very frustrating to me, because I've met people who said that they were going to aid a little bit and help. They could help record a song. They could do something with the camera or what have you. They would work. And in the end, what I found out is, where are they? They're nowhere. It's not going to happen. There's not even a reply. It's over with. What is it? Is it because I'm transgender? I don't think in all cases. Some cases, yes. I had this same situation with trying to gather up musicians to play. I want to do my music. So how does it all come together? I don't know. I don't know, because it seems more so than not everybody wants to do their own thing, which is great, but I never connect with people who say, you know, I love your music and I'd love to play along, or, you know, I got a studio, you come over here and we can record and work on something together. We're both getting credit for it. I mean, if they're producing it or we're co-producing it, if we're rearranging the song, they're, you know, or they're playing guitar or drums or something, everybody's getting credit for their thing. It's not like I'm just using people, but more so than not, you feel that that's what other people will say. Well, you're just trying to, no. I'm trying to get my life straightened out. I'm believing in this wonderful God, right? See the corrupted beliefs here? I'm believing in God. God's going to bring people in my life. Somehow I'm going to cross paths with them. I'm going to help them. They're going to help me. It'll all work out in the end. Okay? I believe in my music. I believed in myself. I was a fool for believing in God. But I started waking up to human nature and the way that it really is. Back in the day, I only had a handful of people. Most people would say they only have a handful of people who will help them during their time of need. Whatever it is, whether it's resources or loaning a little bit of money or a place to crash on the floor or whatever. Most people do, and I understand that. In my situation, I've had nothing but the cold shoulder, so I decided I'm going to just do it on my own and be done with it. And I gotta laugh now because it's just really blown away. Some things, can I tell you, I did out of complete anger. I was just so angry, and I'm going to do it anyway because I seen a response and I heard the response of other people, so now I'm going to do something even more raunchier, more dirtier. I'm getting it in my own household. People are mistreating me. I'm going to do it just because I'm not afraid to do it. I'm just going to do it just to upset more people, stir things up a little bit. Well, it didn't take much. It got people talking. And I look back and I think how ridiculous it is, even down to the point that I was in my diaper. I had some people tell me that they have a toddler kid that watches that video every now and then, and they dance to it. They think it's funny. They're still wearing their diaper. And there's Tracilyn in a diaper making the child laugh and want to dance. Good. Because that's a kid who gets it. Some things I just did for fun, and sometimes, you know, maybe I wasn't thinking of doing music as a business. Obviously, you got to hide everything about yourself and put on a costume if you're going to really survive and thrive in this world, especially now. We're too busy walking around judging everybody. We don't have much of a sense of humor a lot of times. And, you know, basically because we're miserable, we're making other people's lives miserable. I've realized for the first time in my life, I actually kissed the mirror. I kissed myself. I fell in love with myself at some point during the videos and stuff. I loved what I looked like. I loved the spirit inside. I knew that my heart was trying to do good and be a help and use my talents and gifts for the right reasons, not for selfish reasons. And for the first time in my life, I gave it a go at just being Tracilyn, doing what I wanted to do. Obviously I'm 41 and I went through my life never really figuring anything out, as I'm staggering along, and I'm same with the music business, never figured out how to navigate my way around to do what a lot of other people have done in the past. And sometimes I'm grateful I didn't. I gotta be honest, because I met quite a few people in the music business, and I ended up doing better doing what I was doing than what they had done signed to record labels. So that's not all it's cracked up to be. I understand that. But meanwhile, you're going through life and you want to be a part, you want to do something wonderful, and you want to reach the lives. That's what it's really about, is reaching into the hearts of the masses, getting out there and sharing your gifts and your talents and reaching into lives and making a positive difference in the lives of others. Hopefully having somewhat of a positive message within your music that lifts people's spirits. That's what I was about. Unfortunately, when everything spiraled out of control, and now I'm figuring out, the whole process of the whole YouTube thing was figuring out, who is Tracilyn? What am I passionate about? Let's get down to it. And I had to say, it was kind of like my heart was cut open, and it was opened up. And I've said this over and over again because I would have little sermons to myself when I was home alone or what have you. It was like there was a little cat costume and a guitar, and there was 50 songs in my heart. And it was like God was telling me, this is what I brought you here on this earth to do. Didn't tell me exactly what to do with it. And I got to be honest, when I'm recording the songs, I'm trying to be myself and use who and what I am and what I'm into to try to draw people in, and not just for attention, but to educate, to develop relationships. Because I don't know what it's like to be Tracilyn and have friends who appreciate, desire her. And I don't know what it's like, because I've been trying to be somebody else every day of my life to please other people so they will be my friend. I talked about in other videos how I even did things that were not in my heart. Stealing things or whatever as a kid growing up. And just doing drugs or alcohol because other people are. Forget that. That's not who I am. I don't want to do that stuff. And I was foolish forever trying to fit in with anybody. Because more so than not, what I've realized throughout my life journey, that it's an opposition of who I want to be. Well, maybe I didn't connect with other people that it would have been a healthier lifestyle, healthier relationships, or maybe a guy who desires me if he can't even see me. He doesn't even know where I am. And believe it or not, there may be some psychotic, crazy man who says she's everything I've ever dreamed of. You don't know that. I don't know that. But how do I know if I'm not being Tracilyn? Okay? I want to be in the right relationships. I want to be with the right people. Unfortunately for me, I started drawing a lot of people of all walks of life. And sometimes in some situations, I would have to say more so of what I didn't want to draw to me. Okay? So I'm learning as I go. Big deal. I did it and I got it out. Same with the schoolgirl thing. I had remarks about, whether or not I was copying or doing something myself. Honestly, I wasn't copying off anyone. Everything that I've done, I did from my heart. Now, I can't help if other things that I've seen or whatever other people have done. The schoolgirl thing has been done so many times. I did what I did. And I don't regret any bit of it. And let's face it. The professionals that I met that did photography for models wouldn't give me an opportunity because they didn't see the advantage and the possibilities that were there, right there in front of them at that time. They were steered away from it, blinded because they weren't educated and they were more locked into the society's way of thinking. So they lost opportunity instead of gained opportunity. I see it exactly like that. Think whatever you want, but when I get to the point of doing videos and stuff and role playing, I've been wanting to role play, and I used to do that for years. Unfortunately, when adults reach a certain age, they figure that's too childish. So I can role play with children, which is great. I love children. But bottom line is, my word was back up. I can't do things at a level that I desired to, or the things that I want to do, and I can't connect with people who have similar passions, but back up out of my face, because I'm going to do it. This is my life. I want to do it and get it out of my system and experience it. Figure things out. If I want to model for myself on a camera, then deal with it. Okay, because I'm letting it all hang out. And that's exactly what I said. I'm 40 and I'm letting it all hang out. Forget about everybody else. And I don't regret any of it. So I passed on a lot of different opportunities that came my way, whether it was dates with guys. I find it very frustrating when it comes to dating with guys, especially because of being a transsexual, so it kind of minimizes, different things, I guess. But a lot of times it just seems to be a sexual fetish. I'm past that. I don't want any part of that myself. I'd rather be in something more real, healthier for myself. Enjoyable. I love sex, but I like sex to be with somebody special. I can't emphasize that enough. That means a lot to me. So before I left this last time, as I was going through, I don't want to keep riding on with the house and stuff, because I guess I kind of talked about that as a whole. But it was a very gruesome experience that I would never want to go through again. Everybody was against what it was that I was doing. I might have met one or two people within a household that had compassion on me. One was a teenager that actually realized that I work. He actually sat down beside me one day and he said, "Why don't you come out and throw frisbee or something with me, because all you do is work. You need some playtime." And this was coming from a young teenager. I cried. I said, "You're the first person to ever sit down beside me in this house and recognize that I am killing myself doing everything that I'm doing." A teenager often had small bits like that to say to me that I cried a lot. I love him. Like a son or like a brother, And for a teenager to say something like that to you, and meanwhile you're living with people from the ages of, in their early 20s all the way up into whatever age, into their 50s or whatever, and these people are just totally degrading you and knocking you down, going around gossiping to everybody about you, not wanting to, not seeing things as they really are. They're seeing things that in their own perspective, which is very distorted in most situations. So I didn't have the support that I definitely needed. I did it on my own. I fought. And I went to battle with the whole world while I was doing this project. Got along with people better out on the streets than I did in my own house. That's sad. That's why when people said about having a home in Ohio and stuff, it was unclear to me that whether or not I liked Ohio. I love Ohio. If I lived in a healthy home environment, I'd probably be one of the most supportive verbally, because I've learned a lot while living here. And I always said that even the cops are nice here, the street folk, which waver from being homeless and stuff, are even kinder than a lot of places I've been. People are very, very kind here. Ohio has a lot of beautiful structures, and it has a lot of beautiful sites that I did not have the opportunity to go see, because I was living pretty much cornered into my bedroom. And may I just say that when, of course, the hard thing is, which I say, if you're living kind of in poverty yourself as far as your finance and stuff, it's kind of challenging if you don't live like on the outskirts of Cincinnati or Columbus. I like big cities, and I like to travel. I don't mind living anywhere in the state of Ohio if I can afford to get in my car and drive and go do things, because I love to go explore and I love to go do things, and I like to be around masses of people. I'm just natured that way. I don't like to live with masses of people, but I like to be in cities. You know, I love Fountain Square and stuff like that. I talked about all of that. And I just love it. Same thing with Las Vegas. I loved to be there at nighttime. I would get a little more nervous, of course. I feel safer here in Ohio. Some people say that I should be careful no matter where I am, and I am. But I mean, I always felt safer being here in Ohio, like I was cared for, you know. So, but it was the inside house. And I always believed that the person that was actually helping me and providing the roof over my head was wavering. He wanted to be supportive of myself, but confused with everything else going on and the way everybody's battling him and tackling him because of what they see me doing. There was jealousness, there was bitterness, there was resentment from all kinds of people. He's trying to be supportive to a level, but it's actually he's getting friction for it unnecessarily. And I'm feeling bad about that too, because I know that he's like 0.00008% of people, maybe even in this country, that would be willing to open up their home and help somebody like myself as they're discovering who they are. I spent a lot of times talking to myself, I said, out in the garage and out in the kitchen. And can I tell you that I've talked about a lot with the heart. Opening up the heart. And cleaning it out. And can I tell you, a lot of the stuff that I would be talking about, I would have the sensation that other people are listening in on me. Somehow are watching me. Lots of people, not just a couple. Lots of people. It's not a pleasant feeling. I have mixed emotions about it. Part of me says this is a wonderful experience, and another part, that's why I don't say any names or anything like that. That's why another part of me is I'm confused with how to feel about it. If it was really happening to you, if you really believed it to be true, how would you feel? Would you feel violated, or would you feel relieved that these what are perceived as amazing personalities are actually listening in on you and inspired by you? You could look at it as inspired, or you can look at it as in they were invading your privacy and stealing from you. I don't know how to put that. Because if you go to a church and you hear a sermon, we all been there, right? You hear a sermon and you apply that stuff to your life. Are you stealing that information, or you inspired by it and utilizing the information that's given to you? But it's one thing because you're going into a physical church and you're seeing them. It's another when people are invading your privacy through microphones or cameras or whatever the deal is going on. I didn't know if there was a camera really in the house. I don't know. I don't know these things. I don't know whether private eyes are watching you. You know, Dara Hall and John Oates. I don't know what to think about that. I have mixed feelings. I want to think the best in it all. And I can't help but feel, because of my situation and my circumstances, that the worst of things. The unfairness of it all. It's like I had the opportunity to talk to some amazing people privately, but in the same token, you know, you can look at it much differently. I never had an exact, clear direction. So when people started making suggestions to me, they were going right for the hair. That's always the first thing. Always cut the hair, always cut the hair. Remove the nose ring. I even had it down to where people were walking up to me, and this wasn't just people, this was the group of people, and this happened, I don't have time to explain each detail, but I knew that this was happening. I almost knew exactly when it was going to happen. Sometimes they'd even give me signs. I won't say how, but they would even give me signs. I would know. And it came down to basically what they were trying to do is revert me back to who I was before I came out to live my life as Tracilyn. Removing the makeup, cutting the hair, even down to keeping my hair the natural color. I like blonde hair. Sometime I might be natural, you know, as I'm a brunette. But I would still dye it a little bit, you know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Sometimes I think about it, I like being blonde right now. Trying to get me to be as natural as possible, which stems back to, they even had somebody when I was in Cincinnati come up and talk to me, a group of Christians, and their exact words were, you know, They rebelled at some time in their life. They were telling me their personal testimony. They rebelled, so they were being gay. They rebelled and they were being gay with their gay friends, but then they realized for what it was, and they got their life straightened out because of Jesus. And now they don't live that life, and they realize that they were just rebelling from everything that they were going through. Can I tell you that right there and then I just laughed at them in the face? And I let them know that if they're insinuating that I'm rebelling against anything, they're wrong. And basically I don't remember exactly everything that I said, but I left them know that they can believe in their little Jesus. But if they fully believed in what is being taught in the gospel, they'd be right here beside me, probably playing violin or blowing a harmonica or something. Little song and dance. Because from my experience of somebody who has studied very in-depth and applied teachings, had me stripped of everything that I was, and had me come out with my truth. What you see before you is true. It's me. I just did a whole movie project, video project, on my entire life. It's always been me. The problem is the world has a standard, not God. The world has a standard. And that standard is set up from people up above, powerful, dominating, oppressing, and controlling. And I had to laugh about this the other day. I thought to myself, I said, just imagine what this world would be like without any laws, rules, or regulations. Some people say, well, I believe it would pretty much look the same. Oh no. No, that somebody who said that has never had their butt on the street to see what human nature is really like. The worst of things would happen. Upon arrival, you'd be somebody's dinner, so to speak. Everything's there for a reason, to try to bring people to be more civilized and things like that. I don't want to get too heavy about it, but use your imagination. We all have different beliefs. I want you to always have the freedom to believe whatever it is that you believe. Let's learn to live and believe what we believe while not stampeding over other people's beliefs or lifestyles. How about that? So, I had all kinds of crazy things like that happen. Met a few nice guys, and, the bottom line is, busking was my way to make money. I didn't take time to walk away from the walls that I was standing by, because I knew there was going to come, sooner or later, I'm going to be told you have to move. And I need at least money to get a hotel room or put gas in my car. So people ask, why didn't you go to other places? Why didn't you do this, that, and the other? I had to get, number one, I had to get rid of the anger. Number two, finances. Everything costs money. And anytime I was doing anything that was perceived as splurging, like even driving, a half hour to another city or an hour, hour and a half to another city to go to an open mic night or something, then all I'm doing is playing and wasting time, and I better get out there and get some kind of job. And let me just say, I don't want to ride this too much, but I try to get jobs. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings around this area, because again, I love Ohio. And I'm not alone on this one. All over the world and the United States as well, but I can't get it. I gotta be realistically, I can't get a job that pays anything worthwhile. I can't. I tried. The first job I ever had paid, minimum wage for 45 minutes a day. That's crazy. What's the sense of even doing that? I'm actually paying gas to go do that. That is just ridiculous. So, if there's any hope for me, I better get creative and create my own job. Well, then let me create it. I already said it's going to take 2 years. Anytime I set off on a business adventure, know this. It was always, in the end, for my best interest. Because I had money, and I could be an independent, not independent, but I could take care of myself. And that's the ultimate goal when I came out here. is to be able to take care of myself. If I'm running around doing all these jobs that aren't paying anything, there's no benefit. We all know there's no benefits or anything like that. I mean, come on. I better create something myself. Thinking about the rest of my life, I could end up living for 40 or 50 years. I could. I gotta be honest with you, I hope not. But if I did, I want to be able to be doing something I enjoy as I get older, whatever that is. And with whoever. And if I'm not being Tracilyn and I'm not doing what it is that I love in life, well, I'm living everybody else's way that they think, oh, I'm sorry, I should walk this way, talk this way, do this, that, and the other. And I already explained all of that, and I ain't going down. I'm tired of fighting with people about that. I really miss having my own place. I love being in hotel rooms. I don't like being alone all the time, but I love being in hotel rooms. It's great. By the way, I also want to say this really quick and back up and say that the second I arrived in Las Vegas and I opened up the hotel room, I knew that everything that I heard those two ministries talking about were lies. Because your circumstances really do matter. You know, the one thing that's really hard on me is the cold. And I do suffer from depression. And environment is everything. As an artist, environment is everything. And different environments give me different feelings. But again, I don't want to ride this too much. I'm manipulating and twisting my mind to see there is a lot of good. There's great. I love Ohio. And if I had a great job in Ohio, why would I not want to live here? It's one of the friendliest places in all the United States. You know, I can travel, right? But if I don't have a home, per se, an actual home, and I can't afford to do anything, it makes it kind of hard depending on where you live. Like, again, you live near Cincinnati or you live in one of the major cities, my location is kind of distant from everything. I mean, it really is. So that's not Ohio's fault. I mean, it's great to a lot of people, but in my situation, if you can't afford to go anywhere or do anything, it's you're glued to the house, and I got to be honest, in a house that you don't want to be glued into. It's not like what you consider a home because you can't do the things in life you're passionate about in that house without stirring something up. So I said I passed on a lot of different opportunities for a lot of different reasons. I had a lot of past occurrences, and my whole thing was every time I left where I was staying at here in Ohio, things got a lot worse, never better. And I can't take any more of that. It's like this is the foundation of what would be considered the worst. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but this is it. If it's going to get any worse than it is, and I don't want any part of it. So because of my past experiences of other places I've been to, I was like, you know, a lot of opportunities that came my way, I'm passing on. Sorry, I will deal with what I got to deal with. There, at least I know what to expect. And I love, listen to me, a lot of the people that were there I love. And I definitely love the person who has a home and is the one that invited me in. And I love the, you know, different people. I love them. It's not that I don't care. It's because it's frustrating. And this frustration leads into stress on everybody's life, not just mine. It's not just me. It's just unhealthy matches. See, I'm not falling in love with somebody and moving in with somebody. Okay, there's a difference there. And that's even challenging. Everybody say, Tracilyn, you have no idea. It's all challenging. I know. But in this situation, because I'm a needy person, I need a place to live. And when you're living at a place where there's a lot of people who need a place to live, and this stuff is, and it's inflexible. You know, it's inflexible. You're learning people's boundaries. No sooner do you learn their boundaries and you're working things out, they're gone and the new people are in. And this is a constant turnover. It's like the world's still spinning around you very quickly, only you're not traveling anywhere. You know, if I could have been doing, like, maybe had like a music room that was soundproofed. I always said that. A soundproofed bedroom, a music room, that I could actually work on my art all day long and pretty much stay committed to. If I stay committed to doing what I learned in this process, if I stay committed to doing what I love to do, and not worry about whatever else is going on, just do my obligations and focus, I'm happier. I can get along with everybody a lot better too. It's amazing. But when you're oppressed from being able to do because it gets on other people's nerves, I understand all that. But because it does, and you can't be you, and you're being made fun of, and all this stuff is going on. I mean, because let's face it, as soon as I speak up, I'm asked to leave. I got to be honest, I want to say this right on camera. There's a few people I wanted to deck, beat up. But I know there's serious consequences to it because these are the same people that will badmouth you and say all kinds of things. Then when you actually lay them on the floor, they're called the cops or they're tell the owner and the owner will kick you out. But there's a few people that I would have just loved to pop right in the mouth. Can't do anything about it. I have to keep biting my lip. Why? Because I want a roof over my head. Because I want to stay somewhere safe. I don't want to live on the streets. Let me tell you something. The wavery of doing that is very stressful. And you can only do it so long before you snap. And you're either going to take it out on somebody, physically or verbally. For me, I try so hard never to make it physically because I know that myself, I've seen my past. The same thing from being bullied around your whole life. When you snap on somebody, they don't stand anymore. Because you have years of all this abuse that goes through you. And I knew that I was never so angry in all my life that the best thing I could do is stay busy doing what I do and ignore everybody else. And I'll tell you what, there was many, many times that I've cried and cried and cried and screamed and screamed and screamed somewhere. Because short term, I could have done this. This has been years now. I've lost everything. There's no way I'm going to recover from my losses because simply, not just because of what the world around us is all going through, but also because I'm a transsexual, and, I do my music and everything takes time. It's not that it can't be done. I could do it, and realistically, I could do it in 3 to 5 years, and I'd never have to look back, and I would be happy. The problem is I don't have a home base. I don't have a place that I can actually call home where it's civilized and people understand Tracilyn is working. Whether she's working on her tan, she's working out, or she's, watching her diet. It's all, people don't understand. My whole life was my product. That's what any entertainer you see, their whole life, if they're not taking care of themselves, they're messing up. Because their image is everything, whatever image they want to present. If they're not doing it what's right for them by eating healthy, working out, taking a little bit of bite off the white if that's what their goal is, to kind of, it's all up to them. And everything matters. And let's just face it, I have a lot of other hobbies and stuff. I don't want to just be working. I like to do other things. And I would like to date guys. Guys that I can enjoy time with. There was even jealousness and bitterness and all that. I learned in the end, you cannot share anything with anybody. I had to live a very private, very quiet life. And I got to tell you, I've always wanted to live in a household where I can share my day with someone. And somebody that actually cared. Somebody who can laugh with me. I don't know what that's like. I have nobody in my life I can just share my life with without them obviously setting me up to either to hurt me. One way or another, it's being used to hurt me. Most certainly don't ever talk about money. And you most certainly don't ever talk about anything that makes you happy, is what I've learned, because if you do, it really upsets the people around you, because Tracilyn shouldn't be happy. She should be miserable and going to work, doing what she hates, and there's a high expectation of me coming out of my situation by everyone around me. They've not even one day walked in my shoes to see what it is that I got to go through. We're all different. See, I don't do that with other people. I have a hard time with people who mistreat people. That's my problem that I've been trying to work on, because that is a problem. I got to learn how to deal with that. I don't like people mistreating other people. Even the same people that mistreat me. I don't like to see that. It's just horrible. I see something that's happening to me, and I don't like the way people do that. And if my voice sounds really bad right now, know this. I ain't gonna lie to you. I've been smoking a lot since I left Ohio. Depression. I don't turn to drugs, thank goodness. I don't turn to alcohol, thank goodness. Unfortunately, I haven't been eating healthy, and I've been smoking a lot. Very down at everything that I've learned. I've wasted pretty much, I wouldn't say my whole life, but I wasted a lot of years with ridiculous things because I wasn't being taught right how to really maximize our life journey. Most of us are not being taught right. We should all be angry. We should all be angry. You should be angry. Entertainment and the radio, especially more so nowadays, is being used to control your way of thinking, whether you believe it or not, it is. Those religious communities that have been established to oppress you and keep you stripped. So other people can gain. More so now than ever, they're being paid off. They're getting all kinds of wonderful perks for what it is that they're teaching you. And if you submit to their teachings, you may be under an illusion that you're extremely happy with it, but more so than not, if you're being real, it's not. We should all be upset. And instead of battling each other, there's some people that are in positions that should be taking out of those positions. Plain and simple. I feel very strongly about Christian leaders, especially because I followed under Christianity and I've toured around just this country, and I've watched and I dove into a lot of different programs, and it's all similar. But let me tell you something. It's all unhealthy for us. It's guiding us away from ourselves instead of leading us to who we are. Oh. So I told myself after last year, what ended up happening is in 2012 I was doing the street thing up until the winter. When it got cold out, I went inside. There's no way. I've realized that if it falls below 50, I can't handle it. Actually, 60's hard on me. You know, I need hotter temperatures. Why is it? I don't know why. Especially the older I get. I love hotter, and it works better for my throat and my complexion, everything. I just love it hotter. It doesn't change the fact that I love being here, but it'd be nice sometimes over the cold months to be able to at least travel to go somewhere else. And I've learned that in this last travel, if I could travel along the southern and western states for whatever reason, the purpose of working or whatever, I would be content to have Ohio be a home. And you'll find that out if I have time yet to finish this up. That I really feel very strongly that the state of Ohio is my home and will always be. I don't feel that way about Pennsylvania. That's the place I was born, but I feel that Ohio is actually my home. Unfortunately, I don't feel like I have a home within it. In fact, I know I don't, because I wouldn't be asked to leave all the time and being kicked out, and I'd be able to be myself more. I'm not saying I'd be able to get everything that I want or everything I desire, but I would be able to be myself without constantly fighting about it. So, I had plans of getting off the street because in the first winter, 2012 through the beginning of 2013, I pretty much became bedridden, paralyzed. I didn't want to get back into doing music as a business, so I don't know what to do.